Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Natalie Bedard. She is a energy healing empowerment coaching. She's also known as Nat famously, and she's also the founder of Lift OneSelf. Welcome to the show, Nat.
Thank you for having me, AJ. I'm looking forward to having a playful conversation with you.
You are welcome to the show, Nat. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure a lot of people, not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe, will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about healing through energy. So we'll come to that. But first, let's understand more about you, Nat, about a bit about your journey so that people know who Nat is and they know more about it, rather through me, not through me, but through yourself directly.
Yeah. Well, I am a person that has been on this earth for half a century now, so I have a lot of lived experience. And in my childhood, I had a lot of different trauma that I experienced. And fast forward in 2014, I had lesions in my brain stem and in my cerebellum. And I was hospitalized, told I was going to possibly die. And they did a bunch of tests, which I was hospitalized for almost 40 days. And the test kept coming back atypical, but not really what the root was causing these lesions. And therefore, I was released from the hospital without a diagnosis and without a plan. So I was put into the wilderness, so to speak. And then I had another relapse. So then they put me on medication to help with the inflammation. In 2015, I discovered meditation in the form of TM, transcendental meditation. So that, with the lesions in my brain, allowed me to really understand the nervous system. It gave me a front seat to see, how much neural energy it takes to produce a thought, yet not even just to produce the thought, but also to put that thought into action. And also these chemical releases that happen in the body. And then the somatic aspect. In the meditation, it allowed me to surrender those defense mechanisms in my nervous system to allow all of the stored emotions and experiences that were stuck in my body as energy. And so that wasn't pleasant. It was very uncomfortable. So it's understandable why a lot of times people will stop meditation, because they're now starting to get to the part of vulnerability and into their worth, yet those defense mechanisms have been protecting them for so long. So it becomes really challenging to understand, like, well, why would my biology stop me from feeling my vulnerability? And that's where you have to really understand the psyche and understand the purpose of the nervous system. I understand that, there's a big word about ego, and ego is basically the defense mechanisms of the nervous system. So when people are like the death of the ego, it's like, well, you still need your nervous system to be human and navigate in the world. And there's a part of having healthy fear. A lot of people are like, oh, fear is not good. And it's like, well, you still need healthy fear for your nervous system to function properly and for you to take action and also to protect you. Like, you have your instincts, you have your intuition, or people say your gut instincts, where you can sense when there's danger, where you can sense that something isn't right. All of a sudden, you could have felt a feeling and then you get a phone call and you're told something happened, or all of a sudden, something doesn't feel right and you avoided an accident or you avoided something. We haven't been taught to really tap into the power of our nervous system. We've been taught to berate it, to chastise it, to try to run away from it. And what I know to be true is you cannot override your biology. So, what I present is being curious and befriending your nervous system, befriending your biology, and really understanding what that shadow work is. The shadow work is integrating those fragmented pieces you pushed away. We all want to present this polished, really good looking part of ourselves, and then these other parts we want to keep in the background, or we want to push them away. Yet those shadow parts tend to hijack our behavior, and we wonder, why is this happening, or why are these experiences continuing to happen? Well, it's these shadow parts that you have to integrate into the wholeness with the W, because they've been holes with an H, and they've been black holes that you've been trying to stuff. Yet, as we know, as a black hole, it's never ending. So it's really about the integration and accepting all of you, not just parts of you, and feeling. So the basic thing that I've explained about healing that people are on is, you need three things. You need safety for your nervous system, so those defense mechanisms can come down and be in that surrendering. You need radical honesty so that you can face yourself. We're so used to looking on the outside and blaming, or even blaming ourselves, rather than having context and understanding, well, why is this? And then you need to feel your emotions. There's some big emotions that you have never allowed yourself to experience that feel really uncomfortable, yet that's where your power lies. That's where your energy lies. We think that we don't have the capacity to feel these overwhelming emotions, or that they're going to last for the eternity, where it's like, no, it's like tidal waves. There's big waves that happen, but the ocean isn't always going through these big waves. There is calm.
Absolutely, absolutely, Nat. Nat. Thank you for that. Firstly, I would like to understand what happened to the lesions in the brain. Were they gone? Are they gone? Help us understand.
They left scarring. They left, with the meditation, because I was told I wasn't gonna be able to walk again. The lesions had actually physically moved my eyes, so I was cross-eyed, and, they like, neurosurgeons and optometrists were like, "We've never seen this before," like an eye actually shift and move. Yet with the meditation and regulating my nervous system, all my systems started to communicate again. So the positions of the eyes changed. The scarring in the brain still leaves it that I still have pain at times, or where my energy um, turns down. So for stress, for me, if I have too much stress and the cortisol starts coming in my system, my energy depletes. So I really had to rechange my whole lifestyle, to be able to cater to the body, and to be able to protect and grow my energy, and also provide a space for others to better understand their biology. Thank
Right,
you for
right,
asking.
right, Nat. Nat. So, how far did the modern medicine help, and how far did the process of the healing and all these things through other aspects of life that you talk about, did that help also?
Modern medicine helped me to better understand my biology. So it gave me language, it gave me verbiage, it gave me some more understanding of like what that thing is that I'm experiencing in my nervous system. The test and things allowed me to see, what science does. And then the meditation and the mindfulness, and really being curious about my biology. So they both were hand in hand. It's not one or the other. Um, so, I understand that we wanna always have one is better than the other, and it's like, no, it's blended. Without one, I wouldn't be here without the other. Meditation brought me to the position where I am right now. I will say that modern medicine did not. They weren't able to get to the root. They were only able to show me what the symptoms and try to put out the fire, but not find out, well, what keeps activating the fire, if that answers your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, let's talk about the nervous system that you talk about. We do know about our nervous system a bit. Some people know it in their own manner, who are may not be that technically know about the biological aspect of it, but still they know what their body is all about. So when you talk about the nervous system, you talk about becoming curious about it, know more about it. So how do we engage with our nervous system? How do we make the best use of our nervous system? I thought nervous system itself works for us. How does then one optimize that?
Yeah, optimize. Would you be willing to come into a short meditation with me?
Yes.
Okay. And so for the listeners, I'm going to ask AJ and myself to close our eyes. But if you're listening to the podcast or doing something, please don't close your eyes. I want you to be safe as well as everybody else. Yet the other prompts you're able to follow through. And this will give a guidance of, our biology and the nervous system. So, AJ, I'll ask you to get comfortable in your seat and you're going to gently close your eyes. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. You're not going to try and control your breath. You're just going to be aware of your breath going in and out. And become aware of the rhythm of your breath. There may be some sensations or feelings that are coming up in the body. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop into your body. By now, there might be some thoughts or memories that have come up, and they're fine. Don't push them away. Just bring your awareness back to your breath. This is where you're creating a space to see what the nervous system does. Staying with your breath and dropping deeper into your body. You may be hearing more things. You may be noticing the rhythm of your breath changing. There may be some sensations or feelings in the body. You may be becoming aware that you're holding tension somewhere. Now the possibility of to-do lists or certain emotions are coming up, conversations. It's fine. You're going to bring your attention back to your breath while observing these things and just letting them pass through. Stay with your breath. Drop deeper into your body. Continue staying with your breath. Now, at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes while staying with your breath. Now, AJ, I'm going to ask you, what did you see or experience in that?
Tranquility, I was with myself. Peace.
So a lot of people, what they're thinking they're doing is in their head, they think that they are doing the meditation of mindfulness. Yet what you are experiencing is being in the body. Because only can you be with the self in peace is you have to navigate through the body to be recognizing that you're part of the infinite. You're part of the one self. Yet we try to go through it through our mind, the logical, the intelligence, the intellect, where it's like, no, you go through it through your senses, and that's through your nervous system. And so, when people want to understand better their nervous system, it's being able to have introspection and being with yourself. What we just did right now, some people feel it's too threatening. Because why? There's some emotions or there's some things that they don't accept about themselves. So it's really difficult to be with themselves, to be in their body, and have acceptance of all of them, not just certain parts. And when that inner critic comes up, where we hear the language of not good enough, or we're a failure, or we did this, there's an underpinning. It's, again, there's an emotion that we're not allowing ourselves to feel. And we also have to look at the profession that we have. A lot of doctors cannot go into certain vulnerabilities because they've been conditioned that it's a zero failure. If you fail, somebody may die. So we have to be able to look at the conditionings that have been placed into our mind, because the nervous system goes off of those programmings. And so that journey is being able to discover, what is it that I have believed about myself? What have I identified with myself? And to go through that to recreate a new program. And when you can go through that, then you're in the self. You're in the bigger self. You're in the infinite. And you're able to really not logically tell yourself affirmations that you're good. It's just in your being. It's just something that has been embodied, that you're sitting in the seat of worth, not having to tell yourself that you're that you can see your flaws, you can see your mistakes, and still be like, well, this is what it is to be human.
Right, right, Nat Nat. Now you said some people are, afraid because they find it a bit threatening for themselves because many things come up. But then you also talk about being curious and ask questions, right questions, so that we can address our needs, whatever they are. How do these people then calibrate these two things, or will they be always, the way they are?
Well, they could join a session with me and I can help them. Yet, with themselves, journaling is really a great tool to be able to come to that radical honesty. As I said, we don't feel our emotions, and the most profound emotion we don't feel is fear. The majority of people do not even have the vocabulary to say, I'm scared, I'm afraid. We go around it by saying everything else rather than facing fear directly and allowing ourselves to feel that. Like, to go into uncertainty and unknown is scary. It's going to activate a lot of fear, especially if there's anything with illnesses or death or a loss of finances or relationship. So, being able to acknowledge that then opens up a space where, okay, what are the solutions we can take to be able to take action rather than looping in a rocking chair? So, as you mentioned, there's a lot of people that are just feeling that they're doing movement, yet it's just a rocking chair and they're not getting anywhere. So it takes that safety of being honest and revealing things about yourself that at times you don't even want to look at. And the portal at times is just being able to acknowledge, I'm feeling afraid, I'm feeling sad, and allowing that to be okay. It's safe to feel that. So now can I allow you to see the messages that are coming up? And then you can see, like, oh, this messaging isn't who I am. So what is really the emotion that is fueling this message? And once you face it, it really shifts a lot of things in your perception and how you relate to yourself.
Right, right, Nat Nat. Now, as a energy healing empowerment coach, you give that coaching. What is it then the clients they come to you for? What are the answers they generally ask to you, so that we can understand how exactly it works on the ground?
Well, when they have a session with me, we do a meditation, which is much more profound than this, so that there's safety in the nervous system. And I have a gift of creating a space of non-judgment. So then people are able to have that radical honesty. And while they're in my presence, they're having a somatic release. Where at times, if we have a somatic release on our own, it's really uncomfortable. Yet with myself, the brain and the mind isn't analyzing the body. So these somatic releases can just flow naturally without it being filtered by the analyzing mind. And so they're able to have the profoundness of seeing what is going on internally for them and what they're doing in their own story, because we don't want to see that we're the antagonists in our own story at times. where we have to see some things and how we're treating ourselves, where our standards and expectations are, just acknowledging that there's fear and being able to disarm the nervous system, that it doesn't always have to be in hypervigilance and attacking and berating ourselves with a language, that we can come back into joy. Yet, some people have been harmed in their body, so coming back into the body is very threatening. And so I hold a space of sacredness so that they can feel safe and they can reveal the things that are going on internally in a way that it doesn't feel like shame and guilt.
Right, right, Nat. Now, in terms of fear, fear is part of us, born with us. Should we aim at uh, you can exterminating fear from our lives, or should we aim at managing it? How should people, because nowadays there is a lot of talk about fear. Do not be fearful. Do not. What does it actually? What one should aim at, because we need it, but we don't need it at the wrong time. We only need it at the right time. What is your take on this?
Like everything, it's a balance. And that comment that you made about don't fear, that's harming a lot of people because they're feeling this sense of fear. And then they're like, well, people are telling me I shouldn't. So how do I? And they don't know, well, why is it being activated? Again, it's that curiosity of understanding your biology. If you understand that when you go to a doctor's office, you end up with a lot of anxiety and fear, well, then you have to look at, well, what is causing me to be so fearful of the doctor? And a lot of times it's unknown and uncertainty, and we think we're going to die with an illness. Yet it's being able to hold space for yourself with that fear and learning the tools of how do I regulate my nervous system while I take my steps. Fear has a powerful energy you can ride on. It's not about tampering it. Yet when you try to act like it's not there and try to dim it, it starts to override you and it overrides your behavior. That's why there's violence or shutting down, or there can be harm because there's a big sense of pain. Everything has a balance. It's not a one thing or another. It's understanding that when you have fear, that adrenaline, like athletes know how to activate their fear. Like, to be able to be a powerhouse, you have to understand how much adrenaline you need to activate it and thrust yourself with the energy. And they're tapping into that fear, where we just haven't been taught the language of how do you do this in your everyday. Because too much fear will deplete you. Too much cortisol and adrenaline in the system, and if you're not an active athlete, yeah, it runs rampant in the body, and inflammation and illnesses, and really it can cause a depression too because you're overloading the system where it doesn't have the capacity.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is much to understand about all these things from you, Nat. And this is one podcast episode. You have got your own podcast, which you are host of. And lift yourself. Let's take a breath together. Tell us a bit about that. It's a nice name. And so, what do you talk in there?
So I once I started doing my healing journey, more and more there was a profoundness of a calling internally to create a company and offer this service and language to people. So I meditated, and the name Lift OneSelf came up, and it was lift the ego, which are the defense mechanisms of the nervous system, so you can come into the one self. And the one self, we're all part of the one self, and we are navigating individually in our own experiences. So the podcast Lift Oneself is bringing people in to have conversations of what is your path of expertise to understand how to manage our mental health and our lived experiences, and also share your own personal experiences, because a lot of experts want to tell you all the things to do, yet they don't want to share their personal experience. They're not showing, well, how did you get there? And a lot of times it's just theory or textbooks that they studied. They didn't even really do lived experience. So you're not being able to relate to them. You're not being able to see yourself in in their story to be like, oh, they're not on a pedestal. They're a real human being. So if they were able to do it, I'm able to do it. So I'm using my lived experience to show, yeah, I went through profound pain and trauma and experiences, yet here I am. And I'm still going to experience challenges. That's what life is. Life is impermanent. It's being able to remind myself that I have the capacity to experience this and use the tools to regulate my nervous system so that I can navigate through the experience and feel human, not disassociate from the self because it's too overwhelming. It's, we're here to live a human experience, not a spiritual experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is much to learn from you, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to learn from you, about you, be your client. So, what's the best way for them to do so?
So they can come to my website, liftoneself.com. That's LIFTONESELF.com. And for your guest, I've created a 10-minute meditation. So they can come to liftoneself.com/gift, GIFT. They just have to opt in and they'll get a 10-minute meditation where I walk them through better understanding their biology and being in stillness. And on my website, they can do a 15 free discovery call with me so that we can see if we can work together. Just because, there's a resonance, it's like seeing where are you in your path and are you willing to do this work? Because there is work to be done. And I understand a lot of people give the illusion that once I do this, everything will be okay. And it's like, spoiler alert, there's no arriving in life. There's just being able to do the work to enjoy life, to be playful, to remove that seriousness and that stiffness that you can bring joy and glimmers back into your life and be able to relate to yourself and those around you.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.